Let us pray. Loving and gracious God, we give you thanks for all the gifts that you have bestowed on us, especially for those people who have made this day possible. Energetic and committed students, generous parents and benefactors, and devoted faculty, staff, and administrators. Guide us with your wisdom and strengthen us in your service and the service of all your people. We ask this through Christ, our risen Lord, who lives and reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Please be seated. As Abbot of St. John's Abbey, on behalf of the sponsoring Benedictine community, and as delegated by the Chair of the Board of Trustees, I herewith call into session this commencement convocation at the conclusion of the 159th year of conferring academic degrees granted by this university. I request Dr. Michael Hemisath, President of St. John's University, to take charge of these exercises.
Thank you, Abbot John. Good afternoon. Thank you. Greetings on this beautiful, beautiful day in Collegeville. A warm and joyous welcome to everyone that's joining us today, including my colleague and friend, Mary Dana Hinton, the president of the College of St. Benedict, who graduated 242 bennies yesterday. We also are joined by parents, especially our mothers today. We note that today, of course, is not just commencement. It's the rest of the country seems to think it's Mother's Day. So welcome to the mothers. We're joined by family and friends, by our honored guest, Joe Cavanaugh, of whom you'll learn more about in just a few minutes. But most importantly, welcome to the class of 2016. Before I start, I would just note that this is a special day for a handful of you members of the class of 2016. Of course, it's commencement for all of you, but it's also Mother's Day, so you should be sure to thank your mothers. But a couple of you, I think, in the class have a birthday today as well. So we're not going to sing happy birthday to you. It's not about you today. But just we'll acknowledge there is a birthday or two out there. So happy birthday to those you know who you are. So we gather in community to celebrate many of life's most important events: births, baptisms, marriages, and deaths. And today, of course, we celebrate commencement, or as it's also called, graduation, both a beginning and an end. So it's appropriate to pause and reflect on this day, to take a little time from the usual busyness of life and reflect on what's happened over the past 4 years. So as we think about graduation, it's the ending of something. And so for those of you who are graduating today, it's the ending of your 4 years at St. John's. We celebrate our 159th anniversary this year, and I'd like you to first look back over the past 4 years. Think about the ways in which you have changed over the past 4 years. You're not the same young men that came to us 4 years ago in the fall of 2012. Excuse me, my math's not so great today. Think about the things that you've done over those 4 years. You've certainly completed a major, you've completed all the course requirements for graduation, but you've also engaged in all kinds of extracurricular activities, athletics, music, student government, student paper, among many other volunteer activities on top of that. And finally, you've formed many relationships with faculty, with staff, with monks, and with the friends that are sitting around you today. If we did our job well, you've become a liberally educated person, capable of both appreciating other perspectives and ideas, but also secure in your own values, which will allow you to pursue a life of meaning and service as you leave Collegeville. But this is also commencement. It's the beginning of something new in your lives. It's the beginning of your life as a college graduate, so it's also a day to look ahead, to consider all the exciting possibilities that are ahead of you as you leave St. John's. Many of you know what comes next. You have jobs, volunteer opportunities, graduate school lined up. Some of you may not know exactly what you're doing yet, but I hope two things for all of you as you leave this place for your future. First, that you are confident that the residential liberal arts, Catholic, and Benedictine education that you received at St. Ben's and St. John's has prepared you very well for whatever future you choose. And second, I hope that you find ways to stay engaged with this community as you move through life. You are part of this place, and this place is part of you for the rest of your lives. We look forward to seeing you back here often in the years ahead. Finally, it's a time to give thanks. Certainly you are the individual that's most responsible for the successes you've had at St. John's, but of course none of you is the sole master of your fate. As 4 years of living in this Benedictine community reminds us, we all rely on others just as they depend upon us. I'd like the class of 2016 to take a moment to recall some of those who've made your successes possible. First, our monastic community, without whom this exceptional institution would not exist, and whose members are important to many of you in classrooms and in dormitories and in the extracurricular activities you participated in. Second, of course, are our excellent staff and faculty who taught you and provided support for you throughout these 4 years. Third are the many alumni, friends, and benefactors of St. John's, without whom your education would not have been possible. Finally, and most importantly, is the support and love you received from your family throughout your life, prior to your time at St. John's and throughout your 4 years here. So I'd invite the class of 2016 to please rise and join me in thanking the many individuals whose support has made your success possible. And if you turn around, maybe you can see Mom and Dad up there. Thank you. I would now like to introduce Paul Knakk, who was chosen by his classmates to give the student address. As Paul comes forward, let me tell you a little bit about him. Paul is a history major from Lake Forest, Minnesota. He was recently commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Army as recently as yesterday. And I would note that the Army does regular evaluations of their cadets throughout their time when they're in the ROTC program. And Paul finished number 4 in the country. Of all the cadets, over 5,500 cadets that are being commissioned this year, Paul is number 4 in the country. So please join me in welcoming Paul to the stage.
All right, guys, let's not hype this too much, all right? I'd first like to extend my deepest thanks to all of my classmates for giving me the opportunity to speak before you today. It's truly a great honor. And, of course, it's Mother's Day, so I'd like to take a moment to thank all of the moms who are here today. Hi, Mom. And indeed, all the family members who have helped raise us and get us to this point. 22-ish years ago, we were born, and we didn't come with any preset data or instructions. You guys just had to raise us the best you could as you went. And as we're here, graduating from this fine university on this beautiful day, I think it's safe to say you must have done something right. One of the alumni of the Fighting Saints ROTC program, retired Brigadier General William Leader, likes to give speeches based on what he calls the 3 B's. Be good, be brief, and be gone. I'm going to try and follow General Leader's 3 B's as I speak to you here today. Anybody who's involved with St. John's will tell you that there's something special about this place. Being a Johnny is different than being a graduate of a big state school or even other small private schools. As I was writing this speech, I was trying to think of what it was that made St. John's different. Is it the beautiful and vast forest that we call the Arboretum? Is it the iconic quadrangle building? Is it the luxurious amenities in Tommy Hall? Is it that feeling of joy when you go to the Reef for dinner and they have both meatloaf and chicken tenders? And what about the more interpersonal aspects of our experience here? Certainly the friendships we develop with our roommates and classmates, the late nights spent studying and the weekends spent socializing have something to do with what makes St. John's special. Well, I think that those are all pieces of it. There's something deeper going on here, something below the surface that drives St. John's uniqueness. The pieces of what make this place so special began to reveal themselves to me a couple months ago when I was talking to my academic advisor, Cynthia Curran. She was packing up her office because she was retiring, and I was telling her about how all of her students were going to miss her, and nobody wanted her to leave. After I said that to her, she looked at me and she said, "You know, people never want things to change, but they always do anyways." And it was kind of funny because after she said that, she kept talking, and I was pretending to listen, but actually I was staring out the window having an existential crisis. She was talking about taking down her posters, and I was thinking about my life and my own mortality. Because while to Professor Curran saying that people fear change but it can't be avoided was a statement born from years of life experience, to me, someone who's new to this whole adult thing, it was deeply profound. Because my life and the lives of all my friends were about to be transformed. Even though we wanted to hang on to the way things were, we wanted to hang on to each other. But we, and all of humanity, are constantly pushed forward by some invisible, mysterious force. Things can never stay the same. Things always have to change. But as I was thinking about my future and how much my life was going to change, I realized it already had changed. We aren't the same people that showed up here 4 years ago, lanyards around our neck, binge-watching Blue Mountain State. We've grown and experienced things. We've broadened our intellectual horizons, and we've even learned to do our own laundry. And those changes haven't been bad. I mean, what's the point of being alive on this planet if we aren't going to try and experience new things and better ourselves? Although I do admit, I miss having my mom do my laundry. That was just convenient. So as much as we're nervous and sad about the changes that are going to hit us in the next weeks and months and years, it's pointless for us to try to hang on to the way things are now. It was always going to change anyways, and that's hard. But in that change, there's going to be value, there's going to be learning, there's going to be growth and maturity. And we're not the only ones who've been dealing with change either. You know, over our 4 years here, our parents have been checking their bank accounts and every now and then, and those have been changing significantly as well. So as I thought about what Professor Curran had said and about life and change, I inevitably ran into the Benedictine value of stability. And I think that more than anything else, that's what makes this place so special. About 150 years ago, some German monks brought their horses and wagons up to the shores of Lake Sag, looked around and said, "This is it. This is the place." And as generations have come and gone, there's been change here. New faces fill the Abbey and the university. New buildings have been built, but this is still the place. We Johnnies love to talk about community. I think we have to put that word on each of our brochures at least 3 times. But we couldn't have the community we have without that stability. Think about, as much as our lives have been changing over the last 4 years, this place and this community has always been there. When your dog died, when your parents converted your room into a yoga studio, when you started to feel like things were so much different than they had been before, you always knew you could come back here and feel like you belonged. And when you see all the older alums walking into the football games and talking about what life was like here during the Truman administration, you realize that the stability of this place extends beyond just these 4 years. It's like everybody here always says, once you're a Johnny, you're always a Johnny. And that stability is empowering. It's so meaningful to know that for the rest of our lives, no matter what happens, no matter if you become a president or a panhandler, St. John's will always be here and will always be home. And us, the class of 2016, we will always be inextricably connected. I look forward to hobbling into Tommy Johnny with you guys in 50 years, talking about the old times and discussing how St. Thomas really ought to just start building their field goal posts a few more meters to the left at some point. And as a final thought, I'd just like to say that as much as St. John's will always be there for us, I hope that we as a class are always there for St. John's and for each other and for the other alumni and for the future students. Because those original monks that settled this place 150 years ago are dead and gone now. The maintenance of the uniqueness and the community of this place now rests on our shoulders. Even with all the change that's coming to us in our lives, we have been incorporated into the pillar of stability that holds this place up. And I know that we will be good stewards. I'd like to end this speech with the words of one of the most notable artists who have ever come out of Minnesota, Bob Dylan. May God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you always do for others and let others do for you. May you build a ladder to the stars and climb on every rung. May you stay forever young. May your hands always be busy. May your feet always be swift. May you have a strong foundation when the winds of change shift. May your heart always be joyful, and may your song always be sung. May you stay forever young. Thank you, and congratulations, class of 2016. We did it.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much. I now have the special honor of introducing another great speaker today. Our commencement speaker happens to be a classmate of mine from the class of '81, and we have the pleasure of sharing a special tie with your class because the ones and the sixes will have reunions together forever. So we will be part of your reunion year 5 years from now and 10 years from now, and maybe we shouldn't go too much beyond that, Joe. So Joe and I were classmates at St. John's just a couple years ago. I was a young man from Iowa, and Joe was from Edina. And when I came here as an Iowan, the Minnesotans gave Iowans a lot of grief. So I didn't really think I could ever hang out with Joe. It was a little too much to hope for to hang out with someone from Edina. But our paths crossed once or twice. I think we studied a little Marxism together with Father Rene and Joe Friedrich. Fortunately, it didn't take, but we had a good time anyway. And we worked together with the youth group, and I had a chance to see Joe's talent with young people, even when he was a college student. Joe graduated in 1981 with a degree in humanities. Following graduation, he became a youth minister at Our Lady of Grace Church in Edina. There, built upon his previous experiences as a camp counselor and as a volunteer youth minister at St. John's, he designed and implemented programs and worked with families and counseled youth. Then, at the ripe old age of 27, Joe was pretty sure that he, quote, knew it all, end quote. And he wanted to be his own boss. So with his Irish humor and his Italian passion, it's a combination that the German Catholics here can't fathom, he hit the road and started to build his dream. That dream was big and would be daunting to many, to create programs that would intentionally build character and respect in young people. But that dream was the start of what has grown into the remarkable organization called Youth Frontiers. Since 1987, Joe and his Youth Frontiers staff have presented over 10,000 retreats in 1,500 schools across the country and has touched the lives of over 1.7 million students across the United States. I have no doubt that many of you sitting in front of me today had been on a Youth Frontiers retreat. Additionally, Joe is a highly regarded public speaker to groups that range from the PTA lunches to a Nobel Peace Prize forum to senior banquets at St. John's. He has been featured on public television, a Carol Levin news special, and in numerous other media outlets around the country. The values that are imparted by Youth Frontiers speak to the value and promise that Joe sees in every young person. Character, respect, courage, kindness, and responsibility. Through his work, he has transformed schools and improved the lives of students all across the country. Joe, would you please step forward? The citation that I just presented Joe with reads as follows, quote, "No one is to pursue what is judged best for oneself, but instead what is best for someone else. To respect each person regardless of skill, class, or background." Those two phrases come from the rule of St. Benedict, and those are phrases that Joe and Youth Frontiers live by. Joe Cavanaugh, the Benedictine values that are the foundation of St. John's are consonant with your life's work. You have devoted your energy to creating positive communities and inspiring the next generation to be people who live out the values of kindness, courage, respect, and responsibility. After graduating from St. John's, you began your career as a youth minister at Our Lady of Grace Catholic Church. There you sharpened your skills in working with young people, becoming increasingly aware of the great need for character development programs specifically designed for youth. In 1987, you founded Youth Frontiers. Through powerful day-long retreats that provide transformational change, you have worked tirelessly to challenge and inspire students to lead lives of character and moral courage. You and your staff have impacted more than 1.7 million students around the country. You have transformed the climate of schools by directly addressing the scourge of disrespect and bullying. Students learn that they matter, others matter, what they do matters, and most importantly, that their character matters. Throughout your career, you have encouraged teachers, parents, and all adults to do their part to model and instill values in young people. Using respect as a building block for healthier schools, you know and show that teaching values takes vigilance, courage, but also the precious gift of time. You are respected at St. John's for the mentorship you have provided our students and for the inspiration your remarks have provided on so many occasions at St. John's. You have served our community on the Student Development Committee, and on the Alumni Board, and have even presented an Alumni Achievement Award and earned the Social Entrepreneur of the Year Award. Your work has been locally and nationally recognized in the media, and you have been described by General Colin Powell as, quote, "a leader in the nation's effort to rescue young people." For your unwavering commitment to helping young people make tomorrow's world a better place today through the development of their character, St. John's University recognizes you with esteem and admiration and confers upon you Joseph T. Cavanaugh, the Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, on the 8th of May, 2016. Dr. Joe Cavanaugh. My former RA on 3rd Tommy Short called me when he found out that I was speaking today, and he said, "Joe, the only memorable commencement addresses are the ones that are really, really bad." Unfortunately for all of you in the Abbey Church, I have a really strong desire to be memorable. And today, we are recognizing some amazing people. And not the graduates, Paul, as you recognized, the moms. And so the first words out of my mouth, along with what Paul shared, your classmate, is Happy Mother's Day. Without moms, none of us would be here. And that is a mathematical fact. So to begin with, again, I want to pause and say thank you to all the mothers in this room who have given us so much. My Italian mom, who is here with us today, has given me many things. She gave me my height. She is this little tiny ragu machine of love. She's 4'11". Everyone on my mom's side of the family is short. My mom is 4'11". My grandma's 3'11". My great-grandma's 11. She came to this country in a manila envelope. So, to all the mothers in here, I want to thank you for being there in our first moment of life. Not that you had a choice in that, but as we emerged from the womb, leaving behind what was known and safe, we got slapped on the bum. We took our first breath into a larger world. And today, you graduates are being birthed into a larger world. And my words are meant to be a gentle slap because it's hard to leave what is known and what is safe. I remember my last weeks here at St. John's. I wanted the days to slow. I didn't want to go. I realized I needed to take some of this sacred place with me. I wanted to breathe in the air of a walk to the chapel. I wanted to drink deep from the waters of the Watab. Maybe not. I went to St. John's a long time ago when Bennett Hall had rooms that were so small my grandma couldn't fit in. And Sal's Bar, that was just some guy's room on 4th Mary. The first month of our freshman year, Chaplain Great Don Taliff has told us to not let your studies get in the way of your education. And we heeded his wisdom. I started my senior slump a bit early. It was in my sophomore year. And that was before the invention of a Darty. And while here, I learned to share things with roommates because they were probably going to take those things anyway. I failed at taking statistics twice, which, if you think about it, is actually a 42% success rate. Obviously, that joke wasn't meant for everyone in here. By junior year, I started spending less time in the library, but I started spending more time in this Abbey church. I figured I'd do just as well by praying. I spent a semester abroad in the country of Greco-Roman. I met people from other parts of the world, and by senior year, pulling all-nighters had little to do with studying. It was more about Netflixing Seinfeld reruns. And I had the privilege, while being a student here, of being taught by the SJU legend, Professor Stephen Humphrey from the Humphrey Theater. I liked him because, some of you know him, I liked him because he was wise. and he was also shorter than me. And after my final exam, he told me, "Joe, I'm giving you an A, but I don't think you deserve it. You see, I don't think you understand what you were writing about. But you have a rare gift. That rare gift of getting people to think you know what you're talking about, when in fact you probably don't." I'm not sure if that was a compliment. As Michael said, I was the classmate of the St. John's president, Michael Hemiseth. And he was the smartest person I knew. And I can say that because I know a lot of dumb people. If Michael and I were having breakfast in the Reef, back then it was the refectory, and he was telling me about some upcoming economical theory test, all I could contribute to the conversation was, "Hey, my oatmeal is goopy." And not to brag, but today I get a doctorate just like him. Just like him has. I do have to say, I'm really excited about being a doctor now, because I think I might volunteer overseas to do children's eye surgery. All right, a lot of you are laughing on the inside at that one. But Father Don's wisdom to not let your studies get in the way of your education, it was true. While I was at St. John's, I learned important things like if someone was nice to me, but rude to the cook in the refectory, they probably weren't a nice person. And I learned, don't be a know-it-all. Because people who know it all are not very fun to be around. But perhaps the most important lesson I took from this sacred place didn't reveal itself until years after my graduation. It's that first Benedictine value that's on the list that you perhaps have seen on that poster over the past 4 years. It's the first one, awareness of God. To look for God not in the abstract, but in the ordinary events of every day. And how easy it is to miss that rushing from the quad to the library, from the palestra to the Reef. And I never thought so much about those words on that Benedictine values poster until I went away. But in my years here, somewhere deep inside, seeds were planted. Seeds of an awareness of God, in the wonder of creation, and in the experiencing of the goodness of community and classmates. Something did strike me, though, as I recently reflected on that first Benedictine value, awareness of God. And awareness of God has the other side of the coin. An awareness that you are not God. And perhaps something beyond your studies that you can take from this place is that you are not God. You are just a human and part of a community, a we, not a me. It's where humility begins. For if we think we are God, our ego and our arrogance and our desire to indulge and the me, it starts to spiral out of control. It becomes all about how I see it, what I want, what I deserve, shouting to others what offends me, rather than listening to what might offend them. And then we risk becoming a people who rarely think they're wrong. And they rarely think they need to be forgiven. As if you are a little God. And the danger is when you think you are God, you have little need to worry about stepping on ants. And I'm not talking about Ant-Man. He's cool. If you stepped on him, he would beat you up. I'm talking about those with little power, or those we cannot see, or those who cannot fight back. So it becomes easy then to say things, or text things, or post things that step on people. How important it is as you leave this sacred place to not think you are God. Whether that means not stepping on ants or not doing things that hurt those who have little power. Now, this just may be my journey, but it also might be the journey of all men these days. Someone recently asked me why I still go to church, especially with all the struggles that the church is facing. I think I still go to church to remind me that I'm not God. When every social media posting or advertising slogan or participation award tells us that we are God, that we are the be-all and end-all, that might be the most important reason that I go to church. And maybe the sacred Mass can be essentialized into just 5 minutes. It would be very simple. You walk into church and get quiet. You hear the words, God is God, and you're not. You think about that for a minute. And then you go to communion. And then you pray for 1 minute more. And you make the sign of the cross, and you go back out into the world. That's it. Bada bing, bada bam, bada boom, boom, boom. The 5-minute Mass. It's theological brilliance. It's important to find people in your lives, fellow Johnnies, fellow Bennies, fellow people, or things that remind us that we are not God. As Michael mentioned, I get to lead a nonprofit called Youth Frontiers. There are a lot of Johnnies and Bennies that work with us. We work with high schools leading these retreats to help kids see a bit differently. We were founded about 28 years ago. And as Michael said, perhaps some of you have been on our Courage or Respect retreats. And the kids on those retreats, they remind me every day that I am not the be-all and end-all. They remind me that I am not God. Here is an evaluation from one of the students who had been on one of my retreats. I keep it on my desk. It's my hubris check. Let me read it to you. I want to thank Joe Candy Pants Cavanaugh for putting me through hell on earth and patronizing me. Also for insulting my intelligence by telling me truths that I already know. I'd read more, but it starts to get harsh. When you are reminded that you're not God, you begin to know you are human. How beautiful is that? The awareness that you are human is the true beginning to life. And it is in that life that you can love and be loved and struggle in love, to experience awe and an awareness and an appreciation of your smallness, to forgive, to feel joy, to hurt, to know that you are not God, that you are God's creation. So my gentle but firm slap on your bum as you leave St. John's is saying to each of you here, welcome to humanity. You are not all-powerful. You do not know it all. You are not perfect, no matter what your mom tells you. You are not God. You are a man. And you'll figure it out just like the rest of us. And if you leave this place without that understanding, then St. John's may have failed you. And you may have failed St. John's. Now, if I could create one new requirement here at St. John's before diplomas were handed out, it would be a walk through the St. John's Cemetery. And the key lesson from that graveyard stroll would be the tall pines telling you that many, many people have gone before you, and many will go after you. Each of us walks on the bones of so many men and women, so many who have come before us. And years from now, people will walk on our bones as they seek their path in the world. We are a brotherhood of men, not gods. We represent those who have come before us, and we lay the foundation of those who will come after us. And our world needs Johnny leaders, Johnnies more than ever, to step out of this womb with the soul and goodness of this place, bringing Benedictine values to this world that so desperately is in need of them. In order to, as they say in Hebrew, tikkun olam, which means to heal the world. Only a Benedictine speaker would close a Catholic commencement address with a Jewish phrase. I wish all of you the joy of God's grace, and may you always feel the special bond of this sacred community of St. John's. Thank you.
Will the candidates for the degrees Master of Divinity, Master of Arts, and Master of Theology please rise? President Himeseth, I present the candidates for the degrees of Master of Divinity, Master of Arts, and Master of Theology who have been approved by the faculty of the university.
Thank you, Provost Ice. By the virtue of the authority committed to me, I confer upon you the degrees of Master of Divinity, Master of Arts, and Master of Theology, which have been approved by the faculty of the university and for which you have been recommended. Father Dale Launderville, Dean of the School of Theology and Seminary, will ask the candidates to come forward.
The degree of Master of Divinity is conferred upon Eric Scott Faught. The degree of Master of Divinity is conferred upon Kenzie Maher. The degree of Master of Divinity is conferred upon Laura Rose Schroeder. The degree of Master of Arts in Pastoral Ministry is conferred upon Peter Noel Beer. The degree of Master of Arts in Theology with a concentration in Systematics is conferred upon Dorothy Jeanette Bliss. The degree of Master of Arts in Theology with a concentration in Scripture is conferred upon Brian James Chiachek. The degree of Master of Arts in Theology with a concentration in Systematics is conferred upon Anna K. Natalie Days. The degree of Master of Arts in Theology with a concentration in Church History is conferred upon Stephanie Ann Falkowski. And the degree of Master of Arts in Pastoral Ministry is conferred upon Hans Michael Frosley. The degree of Master of Arts in Liturgical Music is conferred upon Matthew John Jacobison. The degree of Master of Arts in Liturgical Music is conferred upon Joel Scott Kumro. And the degree of Master of Arts in Pastoral Ministry is conferred upon Lisa Jean Maher of the Order of St. Benedict. And the degree of Master of Arts in Theology with a concentration in Scripture is conferred upon Maho Morishita. And the degree of Master of Arts in Theology with a concentration in Scripture is conferred upon Aletta Louise Stumo. And the Master of Theology, the degree of Master of Theology is conferred upon Michael Klinger Jr. And the degree of Master of Theology is conferred upon Karen McLean Kiefer.
Will the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science please rise? President Himeseth, I present the candidates for the degrees Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science, who have been approved by the faculty of the University and the College of St. Benedict.
By virtue of the authority committed to me, I confer upon you the degrees of Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science, which have been approved by the faculty of the University and the College of St. Benedict, and for which you have been recommended. Associate Dean Cindy Malone will ask the candidates to come forward.
Please hold your applause until all candidates have received their degrees. Candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts with Honors, summa cum laude: Sean Joseph Deal, Scott Richard Echternott, Nathaniel Richard Johnson, Kevin James Keller, Paul Tyler Knakk, Alex Paul Niederloh, Richard Anthony Podvin, Isaac Peter Secor, Joseph Michael Toohey, Paul Robert Wagaman. Candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts with Honors, magna cum laude: Jeffrey Jason Anderson, Reed Dale Bjorkland, Lucas Matthew Bueller, Joseph Michael Bicey, McLean Scott Campbell, Grant Dominic Christian, Jake Patrick Collins, Jacob Michael Dockendorf, Michael Joseph Fadden, Thomas John Freeby, Kyle John Gogg, Samuel Elhart Hager, Matthew Ronald Hyostic, Logan Reed Hershey, Daniel Dean Holtkamp, Alex Michael Inglesrud, Chase Alexander Kenny, Adam James Kolb, Benjamin Andrew Laren, Michael Richard Macken, Edward Thomas Malik, Eric Matthew Pellant, Michael Allen Seehusen, Nicholas Joseph Simon, Nicholas Anderson Smoger, Robin Matthew Swingley, Tyler Adam Thompson, Joseph Vernon Trenzaluk, Marcus William Vevering, Alexander James Wald. Candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts with Honors Cum Laude: Michael McGowan Collins, Adrian Richard Demerit, Benjamin Michael Gooley, Andrew Walker Hansen, Daniel Joseph Langfeld, Edward Vladimir Larson, William Lee, Matthew George Lerick, Nicholas Michael Lemont, Joshua James Loso, Matthew Cole McCormick, Jeffrey Douglas Nicholas, James Thomas Pethulis, Taylor Allen Peterson, Daniel Leighton Schnettler, Noah D'Souza Speeder, Austin Gregory Van Beck, Alex Robert Wheeler, Drew Nicholas Wilfert, Nicholas Lee Zern. Candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science with Honors Magna Cum Laude: Baruch Ambaye Zekewas. Candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science: Mark John Henning, Cullen Thomas McAnally. Candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts: Alexander Patrick Ock, Angel Alejandro Aguilera, Alec Green Almquist, Thomas Rodney Amley, Stephen Todd Ammerman, Derek Dean Anderson, Nathan Lee Anderson, Nylan Joseph Anderson, Luke Roth Anfinson, Maxwell Scott Arco, Brock Anthony Oranger, Brandon Dale Backen, Kurt Michael Baldwin, Austin Richard Balm, Marcus James Barone, Austin Mitchell Battig, Nolan Joseph Bauer, Stephen Francis Bauer, Troy David Bauer, Stephen James Beatty, Christopher Channing Beath, Lucas Fabian Bellflower. Blake Thomas Belfoy. Colin John Berg. Jared Donald Beamer. Michael David Binns. Bjorn James Roger Bjorkland. Kyle Christopher Blackley. Luke Archbold Bach. Zachary Arvid Bookie. Joash Eric Boyd. Charles Gordon Broback. Matthew John Broman. Justin Schuyler Brooks. Benjamin Arlo Brown. Richard Matthew Brown. Zachary Michael Brown. Samuel David Breinstad. Joshua Charles Bungham. Andrew James Burke. Jacob Charles Burr. Michael Patrick Callanan. William Richards Welly Canfield. Braden Thomas Carlson. Nicholas James Carson. Daniel Peter Cashman. Juan Sebastian Castro Zuniga. Ming Ren Chu. Chad Delroy Christensen. Ian Frederick Cochran. Andrew Paul Commerce. Alejandro Concha Berger. Logan Keith Connor. Hunter Alexander Crawford. Jack Bernard Crépeau. Theodore Raymond Critchley Menor. Jackson Patrick Cruikshank. Patrick Montroy Cusack. Grant Matthew Daniel. Michael Anthony DeCesar. Robert Michael Dietz. Matthew Adam Delfs. Max Theodore Deitz. Ian Robert Devon. Matthew Theodore Devery. Patrick Conlon DeWitt. Tyler James Dick. Thomas Patrick Deerberger. Peter Conrad Diliberti, Logan Takuya Dimmick, Andrew Connor Doig, Sean Michael Donahue, Elliot Jacques Thomas Drolet, Blaine Michael Dunham, Andrew Thomas Dwyer, Jason Thomas Zurich, Joseph Lyle Ernie, Samuel Jack Ehrenman, Kenton Eric Eklund, Benjamin Kenneth Eli, Terrence Keith Ellis, Philip Allen Evans, Joseph Thomas Evavold, Chidi Devine Ezianioma, Thomas Richard Feichtinger, James Donovan Fellman, Jr., Matthew James Fink, Leroy Nikita Forbes, Jr., Austin James Fowler, Joseph John Freemark, Tyson Robert Fulton, William James Gallardi, Benjamin Tyler Galloway, Kyle William Gaussman, John Richard Geyer, Michael James Giebel, Stephen John Gitson, Carter Joseph Jevry, John Edward Godfrey, Jonathan James Gaydon, Michael James Greenstein, Blake Richard Gunderson, Blake Charles Hagan, Tianyang Hai, Peter Jacob Hamill, Jerimshio Davao Hanna, Jack Thomas Hansen, Gabriel Francesco Hansen, Jacob Lee Harmon, Samuel Patrick Harper, Jeremy John Hartman, Joseph Jeffrey Hawkins, Andrew Scott Hegseth, Alan Bennett Henley, Scott Robert Hersher, Zachary William Nath, Cole Austin Howard, Brent Raymond Hune, Tarek Hudorovich. Connor Patrick Huntington. David John Huss. Forrest Patrick Heiler. Tyler Victor Isaacson. Satchel Deepak Jacob. Kevin Gregory Jacobs. Jordan Henry Jaycox. James Michael Jager. Dinuka Kavan Jayasuriya. Anders Taylor Jecka. Michael Robert Jenkins. Preston Lee Joffer. Jacob Gabriel Johnson. Nathan Christopher Johnson. Theodore Philip Johnson. William Joseph John Jude. Brian David Jungles. Matthew James Catterlick. Elliot Charles Keene. Daniel John Keller. John Michael Kelly. Nathaniel Joseph Kennedy. Michael Henry Kerfeld. Corey Allen Clevin. Kevin James Knutson. Benjamin Charles Kalaya. Todd William Collage. Mitchell John Conkle. Alex Daniel Copin. Nathan Thomas Core. Paul Leighton Kress. Mitchell Abraham Cook. Andrew Mark Kuhl. Yan Chun Lai. Grant Eric Letnishin. Patrick Scott Lateral. Kevin James Laban. Caleb Cole LeClaire. Yu Ping Lee. Benjamin Stewart Layton. Alexander Grant Lieberman. Daniel Wilhelm Lesage. Christopher Thomas Lesh. Benjamin Patrick Lewis. Austin Leo Lick. Zhoshang Lin. Jonathan Alexander Litchie. Connor Thomas Longhenry, Aaron Mark Longton, Chase Thomas Lipker, Dylan Andrew Lyman, Andrew Thomas Masitis, Gabriel Michael McDonald, Mark Austin Mack, Quinn Christian Madsen, Connor James McGee, Michael Patrick Mahoney, Michael Richton Manikowski, Nico Zane Marasco, Nicholas Robert Martin, Patrick Leo Martin, Blake Richard Maslankowski, Drake Lawrence Matuska, Taylor Clifford McAlpine, Braden Patrick McCormick, Adam Scott McPherson, Conlon Patrick Mead, Jonathan Hollis Meidel, Peter Christian Metzdorf, Brett Jacob Miller, Ryan Timothy Miller, Daniel Kolar Minia, Stephen James Moline, Jacob Edward Molitor, Joseph Dennis Moravchevsky, Andrew Joseph Morley, Matthew Dwayne Morset, Andrew Gordon Nagel, Benjamin David Nault Maurer, Edgar Eliud Nieto, Stephen Pinico Nua, Trevor Michael O'Brien, Charles Clark Odell, Adam Patrick O'Gorman, Joseph Patrick O'Hara, Robert George Otting Crandall, Paul C. Park, Austin John Pearson, Lei Pei, Samuel Stephen Pellner, Randy Alberto Perez, Samuel Stephen Persian, Jacob Rice Peterson, Jordan Douglas Peterson, Drew Michael Paff, Daniel Mark Phipps, Aaron Joseph Paconis, Cody Daniel Paconis. Thomas Angelo Pinataro. Lucas Walter Pitzel. Michael Stephen Plesky. Matthew Daniel Plessel. Andrew Leo Poster. Morgan Allen Pankochar. Chi Chian. Dylan Michael Quaife. Joseph Michael Queenan. Brian Gabriel Raddick. Alvi Ibna Rahman. Tanner Bryn Raymond. Joseph Daniel Rechtenwald. Connor Matthew Reed. Connor William Riley. Adam Matthew Resnick. Joseph Grimes Reisinger. Jesse Charles Rogers. Matthew Richard Rogers. Benjamin Thomas Rosberg. Zachary Todd Roy. Joseph O'Driscoll Rush. Jared Jonathan Russell. Alexander Cleo Rutledge. Frederick James Ryan. Grant Richard Salk. Bayard Jacobson Salverda. Benjamin John Sanders. Benjamin Andrew Sandkamp. Devin Joseph Savage. Ian Gregory Sherber. Alex Mel Schlungen. Matthew Daniel Schmid. Alex Joseph Schmidt. Jacob Lyle Schultz. Peter Ronald Schumer. Logan James Schwartz. John Leonard Schweik. Samuel Joseph Skoblick. Jacob Frank Senta. Lindy Wilton Seymour Jr. Zachary Cullen Shivers. Scott Maletta Sipple. Kyle James Smith. Neil Gordon Smith. Franz Devon Soireau. Saxton Arthur Soley. Milton Rolando Sosa. Michael Joseph Sawada. Kyle Joseph Spengler. Joseph Kazim Stanton. Michael Patrick Stegora. Alexander Martin Stevens. Dylan Andrew Stewart. Matthew Clarence Dwayne Steiner. Patrick Thomas Stray. Mark Carlisle Struble. Samuel Thomas Sura. Benjamin Corey Tansum. Austin Edward Tosk. Tyler Paul Fell. Caleb Alexander Teagues. David Mitchell Thielen. Stephen Michael Thomas. Cage Espen Tiller. Edwin Manuel Torres. Jordan Everett Tummelson. Matthew Eustace Usher. Peter Barrett Valois. Edward Vasquez. Jonathan Michael Vogel. James Melvin Vorderbruggen. Jake Ivor Wagner. Casey Murnane Walsh. Benjamin David Walter. Hong Ye Wang. Trevor Ryan Warner. Kevin Robert Watson. Daniel Lee Webb. John Roth Wells. Bryce Patrick Wenberg. Michael David Wendlandt. Charles Bernard Wenner. Jordan Morris Wiggins. Jabari Noel Wilmot. Nicholas Robert Wilson. Luke James Whitman. Cole Timothy Whaler. Mitchell John Walleen. Wenhan Xiao. Joshua John Young, Paul Thomas Young, Shuai Yuan, Tianning Zhang, Zachary Joe Zimmer, Preston Peter Zimney, Austin Sko Zopfi,
Congratulations, class of 2016, and our graduates as well. And now the graduating member of the men's chorus and the chamber choir will sing the alma mater and Gadameus Igitar by Axel Timer, arranged by Axel Timer.
Towering o'er the oak and pine, proudly stands our alma mater, ever let her beacon shine. Alma mater will be loyal, ever love and praise thy name. Hail, all hail, St. John's our mother, we thy honor will proclaim. Gaudeamus igitur, juvenestum sumus. Gaudeamus igitur, juvenestum sumus. Post secundam juventutem, post molestam senectutem, nos habebitumus. Nos habebitumus. Ubi sunt qui anteos, in mundo fuere. Ubi sunt qui anteos, in mundo fuere. Vadite ad superos, transite ad inferos, ubiam fuere. Ubiam fuere. Vita nostra brevis est, brevi professores. Vita nostra brevis est, brevit finietur. Venitus velociter, rapidos atrociter, nemine parsetur. Femine parsetur.
Thank you, Dr. Timer and the choristers for that beautiful music. Thanks as well to everyone who provided beautiful music for today's ceremony. At this time, I'd like to thank and recognize the faculty of St. John's University and the College of St. Benedict. The wisdom, dedication, and generosity of this remarkable community of educators has made possible what we celebrate today. And in the spirit of Paul's remarks and Professor Curran's comments, we'd like to give special recognition to the people who are retiring after distinguished careers at St. John's and St. Ben's. We'd like to recognize Cynthia Curran in history, Bernie Evans in theology and in the School of Theology, Kim Kasling in the music department, Jean Oshu in accounting and finance, Diane Veal-Jones in nutrition, Chuck Villette in Languages and Cultures, Vilma Walter in Hispanic Studies, and Richard White in Chemistry. Though they are retiring, they will always be part of this community, and we hope we will see them often in the years ahead. Please join me in thanking the faculty with a round of applause. After the ceremony concludes, there'll be a reception out on the plaza. Because it's not inclement weather, we'll enjoy the beautiful sunshine in Collegeville. Abbot John?
Please stand for the closing blessing, please. So I'd ask the graduates, both from the Graduate School of Theology and Seminary and the undergraduate college, to please bow your heads and pray for God's blessing. I'd ask all of those who are with us, our staff and faculty, if you're comfortable with it, please extend your hands in blessing with me. This is a three-part blessing, so give me a strong amen after each part. May God grant you grace and joy and keep you safe throughout all the days of your life. Amen. May God strengthen your faith with the support of family and friends so that you will persevere in following Christ. Amen. May you walk always in God's ways, knowing what is right and good, so that what you do in this life will bring you one day to the happiness of everlasting life. Amen. And may Almighty God bless you, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Congratulations again, class of 2016. We hope to see you back in this sacred place often in the years ahead, but Joe and I will look for you 5 years from now in the 2021 reunion. Congratulations. Please stand or stay standing for our final hymn, For the Beauty of the Earth.